Well, hello there, and thanks for coming over here to Brian Breaks Character. I haven't talked to you in a bit, but I'm coming out now with a very special bonus episode. So, if you haven't caught on, the casting websites have been getting in the news lately, and I know whenever I talk to an actor, one of the first things that we can talk about is how they feel like they're spending a lot of money on casting sites and are they working and not working? And y'all know me as the guy who knows how to work with casting sites. I'm talking about Actors Access, Casting Network, Spotlight, Casting Frontier, any other one you can aim Backstage, right? And so when I found out about Casting Workbook, of course, my first reaction was, oh boy, not another casting site. But then I dove deep into what this site does. And if you've already thought, oh no, I can't even listen to this episode, you need to just push your earbuds further into your ears right now, because this site allows you to submit for free. And I was able to, and this to me is like the coup of all coups. I was able to sit down with the CEO and the founder of Casting Workbook. And this isn't some humdrum mom and pop little tiny company. They are all over the world. In fact, they're the biggest casting site in Canada and in Mexico. And they have infiltrated in the best way possible the US markets, Los Angeles, New York. They're getting a bigger and bigger foothold. And the reason why this site is so exciting to me, beyond the fact that you can submit for free, let me just say that again, is because they don't just work with the casting directors. They work with, of course, casting directors, agents, actors, but also the producers and the distributors. So like the streaming services. So there's a back end part of their platform that to me feels like why this is the future of casting sites. Now, I sat down with Susan Fox. She's the CEO and the founder. And one of the most special things, I'll just give you this little tidbit before we get to the interview, is when you go on there, you can see the notices from all over the world. And it is so exciting. Especially, I want to just say this, tip my hat to all my Spanish speakers out there, because to me, this is the site where most of those projects are cast. So before I jump in with Susan, one last thing. Link is in the show notes. Go down there and click it. And number 2 is reminding you that if you're one of the first early adopters to a site like this, you have incredible chances. So you're hearing it here now. Run on over to that link and sign up now when there are less actors in the US using this site, particularly because you can submit for free. Oh, and I'm just going to tease one little part of this interview. For those of you out there who are spending money on making an actor website or worried about making an actor website, you're going to gag when you hear what Susan shares with us in this episode, because she's got you covered. So without further ado, let's get to the interview. So Susan, welcome to the podcast. We're so glad you're here.
My God, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm so excited to be on your show.
Well, I feel like super fancy and lucky that I get to talk to the CEO of a casting site, because I'll tell you, I am such a huge arbiter, fan, advocate for actors using casting sites as the go-to route to get auditions. I think it's very easy for actors to try to get super creative, to try to get auditions and really wild, like send postcards and send things in the mail. And yes, that's all I'm not going to say no to any marketing approach, but let us not forget that a casting site is made for this, and it's where all the agents and managers and directors and casting directors are going to get actors. And so it'd be like someone and let's put in the quotes, real world, pretending LinkedIn doesn't exist, right? So I think that this is like where we need to be. So I'm going to ask you the tough question first. And before I even go there, I want everyone to know, Susan prepared for this interview so consciously with answers to these questions. She's got notes for us today. And I just want you to know who we have in the seat today is someone who's very important, that she gives you the full story. And so I just really feel grateful to have you here today.
Thank you. Oh my God.
Okay, so every actor listening, their first question is, oh no, not another casting site, especially with the kind of the hubbub and the noise we've had in the news in the past year or so. Help us understand why Casting Workbook, why they should join it now, why it would give them an edge, and also maybe a little bit about why some U.S. actors, it may feel a little newer to them, where other actors in other countries are like, we already know about this. It's the norm we use everywhere. Can you give us a little bit of insight there?
Sure. Thanks, Brian. So the thing that's really unique right now is that in the U.S., we have just launched a free submission self-taping service. This is not what they've seen before. You don't put in a credit card. You are able to pull up the breakdowns, and you pull them up in the app and you submit to them. And there's no kind of hidden fees. There's no update fee. There is basically just submit, use the app, download it. This is a small part of what we do. So we find that we can do that just like LinkedIn. Free,
Yeah. Yeah.
the
And
free and the pay. Yeah.
the free and the pay, which is such a huge, I think a lot of actors say the first thing they think when they hear casting site is how much is it going to charge me for every submission? How much am I going to start paying? Which we
Right.
know has gotten, which is why it's gotten that uh, noisiness in the news, let's just say. So yeah, right.
Yeah.
So tell me, why did you create Casting Workbook, and what do you love about your job? You and I have
Ah,
talked, offline, not on the podcast, so I know
yeah.
this story, but will you share with my actors here?
Okay. I love what I do, for starters. Started this, I got involved in when the internet was really just getting started. Actually, I was an actor, and unlike all of you, I was not a good one, and that was a good thing. So I ended up taking headshots and resumes to clients. And I was doing that for a while before the internet even came around. And then the internet came out, and I thought, wow, this is so cool. And I kind of heard of some things that people were doing. I was doing locations and production. And then I
Okay.
thought, wow, this is perfect for that. So it just started to evolve. Early 90s, mid 90s, the internet just popped up, and it was, for me, it's about how do you marry technology, which is one of my loves. I love tech only in the fact that it can make people's lives better.
Mm.
And I love service. I grew up in Texas. It was all about service. So that was like, for me, it was a marriage of those two.
Got it. And
Yeah.
and one of the things I think is important to point out about Casting Workbook is the bones of what you created started actually in production. It didn't start right as cat, like you have a whole other part of your site that actors may never understand or know about. Can you give
Yeah.
us a little insight there? Because I think that's where when I think about it, I say, oh, that is why Casting Workbook is becoming as prolific and
Mhm.
helpful. And I would just say, like, I don't want to say it's going to be the only answer, but it feels like it is a service to not just the actors, but the production companies. Can you talk through that? Give a little bit of a window into that for people.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Okay. So we, in the last year and a half, we evolved. I mean, all through COVID, we started evolving and looking, how do we help? How do we fix this? There are a lot of problems, and it's not just with the talent, the agents, the managers, the casting, all the way to the top.
Yeah.
And we thought, how do we create this conversation? Big production companies were laying people off,
Yeah.
which is, and they're losing a lot. And it seems like, well, they're the big guys that can handle it, but it's hard. They were laying off tens of thousands of people in response to what was going on worldwide. And so we stepped up with a new offering. So most platforms you'll see are four user groups. They're actors, agents, managers, and casting.
Right.
We added a very robust piece for the producers and another one for the distributors and the
Yeah. Okay.
streamers.
So first of all, mind's blowing, right? And also
Yeah,
people are like, what does that even mean?
yeah.
Can you walk me through, as the person who
Mhm.
only knows the casting director, agent manager, actor, as the person who only knows those buckets, tell us what that
Yeah.
means, because it's super exciting, I think.
Okay, I'll start top down. Okay, so
Okay.
first of all, the streamers, the distributors, they greenlight projects. They bring on a partner production company or two or three, and they come on board to do these big productions. Then they hire the casting director. The casting director then puts out the breakdown. The breakdown goes out to the agents, managers, and direct to talent, and
Right.
then the submissions go through. And now this has always been the way, but it never flowed through one single platform.
No.
That's what's different. It's
Yeah.
like, so now when an actor puts their headshot on to a service, and their tape, their self tape, their demo reels, when they put their materials on, the agent and or whoever submits them, or they submit themselves, the casting director takes that information, sends it up to the producers. Now the producers go through these, they make selections, and we have a system for all of this.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, okay, so the producers now saying we have something called team share.
Mhm.
So when an actor puts their materials on, they're not aware, but this material travels in something called team share. That's a very robust, uh, iOS. It's basically iPhone, Android. It works on mobile. It works on desktops, and the producers get this material and they make notes and decisions very
Right.
rapidly, but they're able
Yeah.
to review everything, and it
Right.
goes up to the distributor and the streamer, and it can live there.
Yeah.
So your materials are are sitting there at the very top, and
Yeah.
they become parts of libraries.
Yeah.
So these are super important, and that's something that I'm glad you asked, because I think that that's the thing that we do. I think even casting, they have to go to 2 or 3 sites sometimes to do what we
Totally.
do.
Yeah, and what you just described, I can just imagine. So if I'm the actor, I want to just think what I'm picturing here is instead of me having like, here's my profile on this site, and the casting director uses, and the casting director has to figure out the way that they're going to share this with the director, and then the way that they're going to share that with the production company. Instead of it being this whole, I don't have control of what my materials look like as they move through all these different channels that whatever casting director does their every way of doing it. This is all the same channel all the way up to the streamer who's decided how they, or the distributor of how they want to do it. And I'm
Yeah.
imagining this integration then must help people with their budget and their bottom lines and their line producing. If that's part of the integration here as well. Is that was I was right to understand?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and sometimes there are conflicts with other talent, but I've sat in rooms and I've watched casting, and when they're making decisions, often they'll come in and you'll send your materials. You'll have your headshot and your resume and your, maybe you've got, some other materials, but once they've gone through that, your submission, they want to know what else. Like, they're making decisions and they want to know what else about this person's social media, what else
Yeah.
about I want to see their demo reels, what else have they done. They're very curious about the actor, especially when they get down to a decision process.
Yeah.
So I've seen them really want to deep dive, even in voiceovers. It's amazing where they're kind of like, I want to see this actor. And
Yeah.
if you're not controlling that, they're going out and finding that. And it might be
Yeah.
something you did in a party 10 years ago. So it's really important to control that and give your agent materials that they can manage
Yeah.
as well.
Right. And Susan, what you just said, I think is so important because I know we want to know what goes on in the room when they make those final decisions.
Yeah.
And we want to be able to control. And I don't say this from a controlling megamaniac controlling way. I say in the way that you want to present who you are in a way that is clear to the buyers, right? And we want to be able to control the narrative. And when you have platforms that maybe are spreading all over and you're not having the control of, this is why it can play a dangerous game, and it comes down to the final decision. This is one of the places where we do have control in a career where we don't have very much, which is what I think Casting Workbook has really set that piece apart. And then also I imagine it's like, I would imagine if I'm the casting director who's used it before, you tell me if you hear this, oh darn it, they're not using Casting Workbook. Like when they work with a production, like are they like, I wish they were, because I like, does that happen? I mean, does you hear people saying that?
It does. I wish it was happening a lot more,
Sure.
but yes, it does happen. And I think that people use a lot of different tools, casting directors, producers, production companies. We want to be one of those essential tools for them. And our site is not just about breakdowns. It's about pitching. I don't know if you've heard of things like active pitch. We do all of that. We started pitching in 98. I mean, we do like powerful pitching and tracking of your materials. So it's what we call it push pull. And
go, Susan, go deep on this, because people are going to be they're leaning in. The headphones are pushed deep into their ears right now. Please tell us all about this. Okay.
Sure. Okay. So basically when we went to LA in 98 and talked to big agencies like the Gersh agency and found out that they were like, well, we don't even use breakdowns. We have something called offers only. And it's like, what? Okay. So that was very eye-opening, and we sat with them. So what that meant was a lot of times the casting will work with the production and they'll come up with some names, and those names actually draw the green light for the project.
Right.
So, and that comes from my background in production, watching how they greenlight these projects, what they need, how that works. And so then they don't necessarily always put the breakdown out. They pick up the phone.
Right.
Now that's where we call pitching. And every member of Casting Workbook has a pitching tool. So you can take your profile and different materials, selective materials, and send those. And I say send those. You can send those if you run into a producer at a party and you want to send your materials, you can do that.
Wait, Susan, I'm interrupting you. Hold on. You're changing the game here. Okay. Yeah. So many of my listeners will know about Active Pitch, which if you don't, I'm going to give a quick rundown. Active Pitch was like, you could really cater your profile to every single project you were submitted for, create a pitch package. What you're saying is Casting Workbook gives the actor the opportunity to create that kind of a business card. I'm not calling it a mini website, but almost like their own little package that's for each individual project that they're putting, or somebody they've connected to. Is that what you're telling me?
Absolutely. It's like your calling card, but you're tailoring it. And I
Shut up, shut up, everybody shut up. I mean, wait, I need to tell you why this makes me so excited. I'm sorry, this gets me too excited,
so
Susan. Here's why. I am always talking to actors about how we have to control the narrative of what we're presenting out there.
Right.
Now, that does not mean you need to hide parts of yourself, or there are parts of you that are not okay, or parts of you that are damaged, or it's not okay that you have a job besides being an actor. That's not what I'm saying. But when we're presenting ourselves to casting or to a producer or to a director, we want to make sure that we are following the story, that the narrative that we need to tell for the project that they're working on, or whatever that is. And when we
Totally.
confuse that, because I mean, one of the biggest tricks in sales is a confused mind says no. So if you suddenly show them you're doing commercials and you do improv and you do this stand-up routine, and you're like, and the person was like considering you for a dramatic role, now I'm a little bit confused, even though we all know you could do both. We just never want to cause confusion in the minds of our buyers. Say it that way. And so what you're saying to me is that this tool is already built into this process. So we could end the podcast here. I'm already excited. Okay.
Oh, well, mic drop for me, because
Yeah,
you just said everything I wanted to say.
Say it. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have taken over. Go for it.
Yeah. No. What I'm saying is that was right on, and I haven't heard very many people articulate that, and it's really, really important, because you see a casting director who's doing a rom-com, and they don't want to see your dramatic reel. Yeah. They don't want to see your reality. They want to see the relevant pieces, and they want you to cut to it quickly. I mean, have you ever seen a 3-year-old with a television clicker? They don't last very long. It's like, oh, that's not what I want.
Yeah,
so you want to cut to the important stuff fast when you're doing demo reels. Put your clips on. We have a really cool product called pitch reels. So if you have your clips up, let's say you have 20 clips, and these are all your comedic reels. These are your drama. This is whatever you've done and whatever. Okay. And then what you want to do is you want to take those, and let's say you get a new clip. Well, you don't want to bundle that into an existing demo reel and make the casting director, poor things, watch through the whole thing.
Right.
You want to take, here are all so I got a new piece. Instead of going to an editor, you can right in line on your site, throw your clip in, grab 2 or 3 other comedic pieces, and make a tailored clip.
Shut up, bundle. Susan, shut up. I am losing my shit over here. Okay. So sorry, excuse my French, because that is what I've always wanted for actors. And I want to just say something, because what Susan and I are not saying is that casting directors don't take time to look at your materials. That's not what we're saying at all. But remember, we know that Casting Society of America says 2,300 actors get submitted for any average job. I'm sure the number depends on what kind of job it is, but let's just think about that for a second. Mm-hmm. And my belief is I want the casting director to give every actor a fair chance, which means my hope is that they look at as many submissions as they possibly can, which means we are thereby, if we're being generous people who hope that casting directors look at as many submissions as they can, that means their time is going to be limited. And so what you're saying is I can grant efficiency to the casting director by selecting the slips that I want to submit for this particular job, instead of them watching all 20 or all 10 or whatever it is, so that I'm really zeroing in on what that is. And what I know about this is when an actor feels that kind of control, and I mean that in the right way, not in the over control way, it does give you a sense of knowing yourselves. It gives you a sense of, I know what's out there about me, instead of, I don't know if they watch my reel or if they watch this, or you have a sense of the dialogue you've begun with these people. And in an age when we're not seeing people go into audition rooms until it's a callback, you sure as shit better know the dialogue is between your profile and that person. The first conversation, maybe the first 3 conversations or 4 or 10 is through that profile. And so you have to have the ability to speak this different way. That's why what you're describing is so exciting.
Well, the thing that's great too is because you can take and you can have multiple bundles. You can add, if you wanted to put music, don't do that. Actually, you can. You can put in if you're putting in 2 or 3 different clips, you can put in captions. So it says, you're going, so they know when they've transitioned to another piece.
Right.
What's great about it though is that you're really you're spoon feeding this information to them. So even if they're on what we call a pull, where I'm going and I'm looking, I'm not, you're not pushing it to them. They're kind of just looking, and what they call maybe paper casting. If you have all your reels bundled for them, they're going to go, I'm doing a comedy right now. I want to see what they have in comedy. Can they do it? And I've watched executives at a studio level. They would go in and they would actually have their assistants go, can you go see if that actor has anything that's funny? Find them in a talk show, find them in anything.
Wow.
So they're trying to, they fight. Casting directors go to the mat for actors every day. And
Mhm.
they will fight. They're like, oh, please give me something great. Or they'll say, do you have these pieces? And if you don't, they're going to go get somebody, and they pay people to find stuff on you. And if you're not, helping them with that, then that's going to be
Yeah.
you're going to be able to say, hey, I have this thing. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
here's me doing that. Or and that now all of a sudden they don't have to use their imagination about
Mhm.
whether you can do something funny, right,
Right.
or
Yeah.
whatever. Hmm.
Yeah, what you just said, Susan, there's two pieces I want to take away. One is for the actors who's listening, who's like, yeah, but I don't have a lot of footage or my footage is not good. I want you to take a step back from that approach for a second and say, when you have the ability to edit in this way, I'm using the word edit, but more like curate in this way. We
Yeah.
don't need all of your clips to be 5 minutes long. You're going to have sections of scenes that work for you that you can make this work. And number two is, we are now in an evidence-based business where it's no longer okay to say, look at my resume. It's show me that you can do what's on your resume. In fact, I would say your resume is often the least important part of this journey, because if I see you can do it in a tape, I don't need to look at your resume. I see you're funny. I got it. I'm moving on. Submit. Sure.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
a self-tape from them. So we
Yeah.
have to have one of the edicts for actors right now is get the evidence. If you say you're funny, show me you're funny in the methods, in the genres that you think you're funny in,
Yeah.
and then we get to have it be there. Yeah.
Well, what's really interesting too, because we have the free submission service, and anybody that's kind of on the fence, go get it in the
Right.
US and use it. It's amazing. But for our pro service, which is one flat fee, no updates, anything, it's $99 a year.
Yeah.
They get like 10 gigabytes of video. You can put
We
in video links. I've got a YouTube video of me doing X. You can throw that in. You really you've got hours
yeah.
of video. So you don't have to be limited.
Great.
And then, of course, we have the built in website, which is probably
Wait,
my
can you
favorite
share about
part.
that? Because this is a little bit
Yeah.
new, right? Is this a little bit new?
No, it's
Okay.
only new in that we are just rebuilding it. We're just
Okay.
about to come out like within the next week or two with a
Okay.
brand new version, which is
Okay.
really updated. But what it does is you put up your materials for you or your agent. You've got your demo reels, you've got all your photos. You click a button and play around with the colors and schemes and their themes, not schemes, themes of what you want to see. And then you can build a website with your materials from Casting Workbook. So
Shut up.
you're
It's so
not
good.
updating like 2, 3, 4, 5
No,
times,
nor are
right?
you paying a million different places to have a
No.
website. And also, I would just want to be, I'm sometimes the contrarian when it comes to this. I think that actors, you don't have to have a website to be an actor, but I think an actor having a website is an incredible tool. So I want to make sure that I say that. And because specifically if you're looking for work in other markets, and also when you're going to meet someone on the street, where are you going to tell them to go? You're going to want to tell them to go to a website, not to like, here's my Instagram. You're going to want to send them somewhere professional. And that's what I love
Yeah.
about what you just described.
It's really something. It's like, so you can put in, for example, you can have albums like Facebook, and you can put in as many photos as you want. So you could have an album that had behind the scenes or on the set, or you could go to IMDb, bro, or IMDb and pull film posters from everything you've ever worked on.
Oh my God,
So
Susan, that is so cool. That's what we
yeah,
wanted to, everyone, and that's what we want the website to look like too. And I think what
yeah,
can happen is, and actor, if this is you, I'm sorry, we can become, go down a garden path of like, I got to get this website perfect and take me 6 months to make it happen. And I'm going to find all these images. And actually, your job, actors, is not to be good at making websites
no,
or figuring it out or spending tons
yeah.
and tons and tons of money on them. Your job is to be auditioning, getting your acting training, going out there and putting things on tape. That's your job. So this is why something like this, to me, again, is solving that issue for you, so you can move forward with actually doing the thing you're meant to do. So that's a
The
great
other thing is, if you are self-repped, you can put a cloaked link so that people can get in touch with you without seeing your email address, which is really nice.
I
And
love
you can put
that.
in all your reps. You can put in, publicists, attorneys, agents, managers, all of them. But it's kind of like this, and all your demo reels, once they're public, not your audition clips, but all your public reels, they
Yeah.
automatically show up. So you've
Wow.
got all of that,
Oh,
and
I love it.
beautiful. But it's kind of
Yeah.
so this for me is how you go to that when that casting director has you and 3 other people, and they're thinking, who do we want to bring in for this
Right.
recurring role?
Yeah.
They can go and deep dive by going, and you can put your like Instagram photos in there,
Got
like
it.
just all of it.
I love that. I love that. Tell me, so I'm sure everyone right now is already salivating over the site. Tell us a little bit about where are the breakdowns coming from? Because you're in multiple countries. Can you give us
Yeah.
a little bit of a breakdown on where you're at and where people would expect to see breakdowns coming from, essentially?
Sure. Basically, this is one of the things I told you I wrote down stuff so I can
Yes.
remember because we are moving and growing very quickly. We're
Great.
considered the fastest growing casting site anywhere. We are now
Wait,
having,
stop, pause. Y'all, you heard it first. Brian Breaks Character, the fastest growing casting site. Get your buns over there. What are you waiting for? You can submit yourself for free. Okay, Susan, please carry on.
awesome. We have members in 60 countries.
Wow.
21 of those are Spanish speaking. I actually learned Spanish during the pandemic, so I could actually communicate with some of them. Although I have a very large Spanish team, we're in
Okay.
Madrid, Mexico City, Colombia. We are so here's my list.
Okay,
Okay, I'm
good.
going to
Let's look at the
pull this
list.
up. Okay, so 60 countries, 21 Spanish. We have boots on the ground in 8 cities, 5 countries. So we're in Madrid, Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, Los Angeles, New York is very new,
Okay.
Mexico City, and Bogota.
Wow.
And we
Wow.
also have like breakdowns now coming out of places like other smaller areas, and they get served from those areas.
Got it. And so, Susan, what I'm taking away from this, and you can cover your ears if you shouldn't hear this, is like we're getting breakdowns are coming from all over the place on your site, all over the world, essentially, are
Yeah.
coming through the
Mm-hmm.
site, and
Mm-hmm.
members from all over the world are submitting on it. And to me, if I'm an actor who is hearing about Casting Workbook for the first time for some reason in the US, because like you said, US, the foothold in New York is just starting more. Uh, I want to get there now because there's the actors, the membership is growing in the US right now. So right now that's a growing membership. So I would like to be there first. So I'm seeing stuff pretty early on. Does that make sense to you when I say it that
Yes,
way?
yes, you're
Yeah.
getting front and
Yeah.
center on that.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're really putting a lot of attention in the U.S. now
Yeah.
by request. We've been asked to kind of show up, and we were really happy to do that. We've become number one in Canada. We're number one in Spanish worldwide. So
Yeah.
we have that whole thing, and
Yeah.
we're in Europe as well. We've had an office there for 4 years, and so but what's really important is the U.S. market,
Yeah.
and that's why we came out with this free submission service. And it was more about that opportunity cost. So
Mm-hmm.
if you think about it, actors don't have to; they can submit themselves, they can self tape. It's an opportunity, but when you get called in and now you want to be seen beautifully, we really want to have that for the U.S. market. So we're really looking at a lot of different ways to benefit the U.S. market right now.
Great. That's so great. And I just want, if I can just point out just what a conscious, it's nice to speak with such a conscious leader about a casting site. I'll say, Susan,
Ah,
we don't always have access to the CEOs of these sites that actors pay hundreds of thousands of dollars, let's say, over the course of their career. And we don't always have access to the person or their mission behind why they've done this and what they're doing. And so I just
mhm.
really appreciate you
Thank
granting
you
me and
so
everyone
much.
listening that kind of access because it feels right to have that access to someone
Yeah,
who is offering something, especially in the way in the
mhm.
service way that you described it. So in kind of that vein, what are some, like, tell me some mistakes you see on profiles that are like, I know we gave some really great overarching ideas of like
Yeah.
tell a narrative, and what are some like flat out like don't do this, or things that you see troubles that you see people get into?
Well, I'm sure there are a lot of sophisticated actors on this podcast that already know a lot of that stuff, but I'll talk about some of the things that we
Great.
see. And probably the thing that astounds me is occasionally I'll see an actor go in, create a profile, and submit without a headshot, which is, you can only imagine. The
Yeah,
casting
what
director has a picture in their head of this role.
and it's a
They're
gray
just
profile head if nothing in the picture yet.
don't bother.
Yeah.
You really want to have, and then you want great photos. You want photos that are present. So you know how sometimes you can look at a photo and it's like there's nobody home. It's
Yeah.
like there's kind of staring. You want present photos, and you have to think about when you're on any site, not just Casting Workbook. You're on a page of 25 headshots. You want your
Mm,
photo to stand out. So you really want it to kind of, you can see when you're watching film or when you're
mhm.
watching anything, when you're looking at a photo, you know if that person's present or not.
Yeah.
If they're like thinking about what they're going to make for dinner or whatever, they're just not there.
Yeah.
You want that in your photo. You want that in your demo reel. You want your
Yeah.
best clips up front. You really want to be able to be seen and noticed that way. So get great photos, and and
Can I
put
ask you a
those
question?
up.
I'm so sorry. Can I
Yeah,
interrupt you? Susan,
not at
is there
all.
any cultural differences you notice amongst photos? So, like, I'm just thinking about, for example,
Mm,
right? My clients who are in the UK, a lot of their photos will be a little bit more, I don't want to say lack of personality, but they'll be a little more dry in some of their photos that
mhm,
they put on their
mhm.
profiles that I've seen, right? Versus the
Yeah,
photos you might have in the US, which the commercial ones will be very outgoing and whatever. And then there's also that trap that I think you're kind of
yeah,
speaking of, which is where we're suddenly putting the like modelly, red carpety, I have nothing going on behind my eyes photo that I don't think, I
yeah,
mean, and then also for some people, maybe that is a photo that they need to have because it's a type that they play
yeah.
from time to time. So I'm
That's right.
curious if you see cultural differences or anything you
Yeah.
might be able to point to.
No, that's a really observant question, Brian. And you're right. In the UK, it's a little more demure. I think it's just that is who they are as a
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah.
It's
Huh?
like, keep calm and carry on. We're a little bit more exuberant. But you'll also see a real difference between film and television actors and the serious actors. Like, just pull up the headshots of any, established film and television person. It's usually pretty quiet.
Yeah.
It's you're not trying to you're present and
Mhm.
quiet, like
Mhm.
still. It's beautiful. If you're doing commercials, that's different. That's
Mhm.
upbeat, happy, smiling, and those are two different headshots, really.
Yeah, for
you
sure. Yeah,
know
yeah, yeah.
and the other thing that's really important is, if you're doing anything, if you're doing reality, if you're doing commercials or film or television, whatever, you want to have sometimes, and this is what's happening. Let me just tell you something
Yeah.
interesting. Casting has changed so much, and I think all of you probably see this and know this, but they're looking for really obscure things. They're looking for
Mm.
uniqueness. They're looking for diversity in everything. And if you have something that's interesting, like if you're a really big person, give us a body shot. If you
Mm.
have something that's distinctive and different, let them see that. It doesn't have to be on every photo, but by doing that, they can totally see, immediately, and not have to use their imagination. They look at a sea of photos and it's like, yeah.
Yeah, got it.
So the thing that's great about that, I think, is, you want to think about the cultural differences, but if you're applying for something in the UK, definitely go a little more
Sure.
quiet.
Yeah.
If you're doing a commercial, yeah, upbeat and happy, because those product owners want their people to be happy that they're using their products,
Right.
I think.
Right.
Right.
Is there if is there a certain I get this question all the time and I don't think there's a
Mhm.
sure final answer here, but there's often I
Yeah.
get the question of how many photos should I have on my profile? Do you ever get a standard answer from a casting director or an agent?
No, no. I mean,
Yeah.
our free service is two photos.
Yeah.
And if you're doing commercial and film and television, you want to have one of those two that we just
Sure.
talked about. If you can throw in a body shot, that's amazing. But
Right.
the more great photos that you have, the better, because a lot of times, and especially diverse photos, especially
Yeah.
for the diverse kind of, like, if you're tattooed
Mhm.
and you're out for something that they want, that,
Yeah,
wear
show
it,
us.
show
Yeah.
us,
Yeah.
so it's really that. If you can wear a beard, and it's just going to give them a better idea, and you're going to read and here's the other thing: when you're submitting, pick that photo that suits that. If you're going out for something that's going to be older or bearded, if you have a beard photo, use it.
Yeah.
So those are some things that you want to show. You don't want something. This is what we see a lot, and this is a mistake, I think, that an actor will go to a photographer with one outfit and they take 20 photos and they all look kind of the same, but
Yeah.
look
We're
a
just
little
making
different.
tiny bit difference and then they're all posted and you're like, why are all these photos?
Why? Yeah, it's not. It's just
Yeah.
a contact sheet, right?
Yeah. It is
Don't give me your
yes.
contact sheet,
Don't give
which
me
you
your
can
contact
do,
sheet. Yeah.
but you want to have some diversity. So if you're going to go to a photographer, take a couple of different outfits, make your hair crazy messy,
Yeah.
do something different, or go in unshaven, shave, and then finish
Right.
your photo shoot, if you
Yeah.
want to save money on
And
that. That's really
and then so Susan, what I'm also hearing, and I think this is important because we want to maintain a narrative. And so when you're saying, have the photos that have as many good photos as make sense for you, because you're going to choose the one that you're submitting for the project. So they're not going to get if you're trying to submit the bearded photo and then you're showing yourself as some buttoned up little nerd in another
Mhm.
photo, you don't need to over concern yourself because you're going to be able to tell them the clear narrative with the bearded photo, with the sides where it goes. So if they decide to go
That's
down
right.
a black hole of going to look at your other pictures, that's on them, but you can
Yeah,
control kind of the messaging that you see people going out there. That's super helpful. Yeah.
really, really
Yeah.
important. Yes,
Yeah.
agree.
And then can you tell me, so a lot of actors will also be concerned about like, how do my reps interact with this and what is their direction going to look like? Can you just talk to me a little bit about what
Mhm.
you hear from reps and, their experience of this and a little bit more about that?
Well, that's a great question because the actor may have, a whole bunch of photos that the agent doesn't want to use, and it might be the area of media. You might have a theatrical agent or film and television agent on camera doesn't want the same photo for a commercial agent.
Yeah.
So you want to give them a cross section of great photos and work with your agent. Your agent's going to, so the way Casting Workbook works is that you put all your materials up and your agents each choose the ones they want to rep you with. So
Okay.
you might have 5 agents and 5 different looking portfolios or profiles that are created by the agent.
Got it.
And the agent, they might not like that photo. They don't put it up for
Got
their roster.
So they get to basically, you load them up. It's like you give them their 64 Crayola crayons and they get to choose the 4 Crayola crayons they want to use in some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got it. Great. That's really helpful. Great. Okay. This is super helpful. So Susan, before I'm going to jump into some more questions, but is there anything that I haven't asked you that you're like itching to tell me right now? I just want to make sure I'm giving you some space here.
No, I don't think
Okay,
so.
We're doing good?
You're doing,
okay,
yeah,
good.
Doing great.
Good. So when it comes to, because actors will ask about submitting, if I was going to go to your site for the first time and I'm an actor, which I think many actors who are listening right now are probably already going to look at it right now, what's the first thing you want to point out to them so they don't miss it? Is there anything you want to make sure they don't overlook? Because it sounds like there's a lot of wonderful, I don't want to say bells and whistles because that's like bigger than bells and whistles that your site offers. But to make sure that an actor goes about this in a helpful process, is there anything you would want to point out to them right away?
Okay, I have my list, so I'm
okay. Great, I love it.
Again, I made notes. My team usually does a lot of this, and they're really good at it. So let me just make sure I don't miss anything. Okay, so the things that I think that Casting Workbook is going to offer you, again, we left a link with you, Brian.
Great. Yep. We will wait. Just so everybody knows, it's a special link. It'll be in the show notes right here. So go right there, tap that link, so you can jump right in. Yeah.
And you can go in and fill it out for free, and you can start playing. Okay, so some of the things that are unique are, you've got all your scripts and sides and everything that you need all under one roof. We also have the website I told you about, hundreds of photos. We have an actor app. We created an app for self-taping, and it basically is an Android and iOS. And it's gone through a lot of changes lately. So don't worry. I think the rating is around 4 if we're lucky right now. It's like, but it's gone through a lot of iterations now. The app is amazing. Go in, you can put in all of your materials and all of your profile, special skills, languages, thousands of nationalities. You can then use it to tape. So let's say you see something you want to submit yourself to, you can submit and do a self tape within the
on your phone.
On your phone. It does a thing where you can actually, it won't let you put it in upside down. You can take several clips and you can bundle them. You can put titles, fades, set the order that you want them, and then you upload it. Now this automatically goes to your agent if you have an agent who will approve it, or it'll go to the casting office immediately. So you don't have to worry about it getting there.
Wow. So wait, I just want to take a step back because most actors would say they could never create their profile or any of their stuff on an app. They'd have to do it all in the desktop version. You're saying that y'all have invested a lot in this app version to make it easy for people to do on their phone.
We were super fortunate in mid 2000s or 2003, 2 years before YouTube, 20th Century Fox asked if we could put auditions on the web sessions, and we did. And we've used a lot that we've learned since then over the last 20 years, and we built that into the app. So there's a lot of really cool stuff in there. There are, titles, fades, edits, stuff like that. So it's a very robust program. A lot of apps are just kind of simple and cute. This is very powerful. Wow. And you could get challenged, especially on the Android side of things. And so, but on this, it's really foolproof, and you don't have to worry about the compression settings. Yeah. They play beautifully on the web. You don't have to worry about the size and the orientation. Yeah. We hear about that a lot.
Well, Susan, what you're just saying, the reason why I know this will make a lot of actors' ears perk up is so many actors are feel like they have to, when am I going to go get in front of my computer and submit myself, or we have to get to the computer to be able to do this. And we always have our phone when we're standing, in line at Starbucks, or we're on our way to the airport, or whatever it is. Like, we can be working on this in a way where we're not tied to having to be in front of a computer, which is so very helpful. So I'm going online. You said you're going to go online. The app is really, really helpful. Anything else you want to point out to me before, as I'm jumping on for the first time?
Yes. Okay. So I want to tell you about one called Home Check. Okay. And Home Check means you can go in and schedule a 15-minute appointment where one of our people will go and help make sure that your lighting and your sound and your framing in your home looks amazing before you do your first self-tape.
Shut up. Go away. Is that for the pro level that kicks in for people?
No. So on the free, when you're doing a self-tape, so you submit yourself for free and you get requested. Yeah. When you get the request, you get this big email with everything you need, and there's a home check. You click it.
Wow.
Schedule with one of our people, and we've done so many thousands of these, and we'll help like even like on mine. You can see my framing could be better, but helping with the lighting, helping with everything. We've actually had people walk around their apartment and go, okay, move that piece of furniture, or,
my God.
And we've done some amazing stuff. So as they're going into their self-tape or into a virtual casting, we help them just look and sound great. We'll just say sort of the sound check that we did here with you, that kind of thing.
I love it. It's called Home Check, and it's a part of the even unpaid plan when you get requested for notice. That is incredible.
That's right.
Thank you, Susan.
Yeah. Same with Agent Find. We are now sending out, you can actually record yourself for something to find an agent who's looking for actors in the city. And we let you put those up every month. And we go out to all the agents, so we put it on their desktop. So that's a big deal. Yeah. But we started 15 years ago. We work in all the big acting schools, not so much in the US. We're just coming in. But we've been doing this a long time, and we take the showcases of all the grads and we put them on the desktop of every agent and casting director.
Great.
But Agent Find is kind of the same thing, but you're not coming out of a school. You're just saying, I want an on-camera agent in this city, and you can submit yourself, and the casting people can see it too.
That's great. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Russell.
So
really great.
I'm going through my list.
Okay, so you got a list here. I love this. This is like the list Santa Claus's naughty and nice list. It's all nice.
I know. Okay. We have a huge interview series as well that we've been doing since pandemic. We have hundreds of hours with casting directors, agents. We've got some producers, and we interview them for actors. And that information is actually available. It's called The Working Actor. It's in Spanish and English right now.
Great.
We also have a series called The Green Room. We are on the big film circuit now. So we have an ex-Entertainment Tonight host who works for us on the English side of things. And we also have somebody in Spanish. And we interview guys like, Keanu Reeves, and we get all the big circuit stuff, but we ask them questions about acting. Tell us. We had a sit down with Bradley Cooper, and when he was doing Maestro, and talked about his process. So what we're doing is trying to fill that gap with the inside the actor's studio kind of thing, where we're doing that for the talent, and that's part of the pro service.
Got it.
We also just released a digital magazine called Center Stage, and it's all about acting and casting. Great. We had our first cover, had Carla Hull casting on the cover.
That's awesome.
It was only a month and a half ago. Our first edition did 10 million viewers in 45 days. Wow. And we were just like, we couldn't believe it. This was in, I think, 110 countries. It went out very big. We're coming out with our next version in a week. And it was, this casting office is amazing. They do a lot of big shows. Okay. So we're doing we've got a whole casting company on the cover of the upcoming edition. So watch for that.
I can't wait.
And that's for you all, but that's a part of the free service. So the magazine is really a big thing because we want to invest in education, training, helping to do whatever we can to put the right people in the right place when they need it. Yeah. Okay, I'm going down my list. I think I talked about the built-in editor. Yes. And hold on, wait a minute. Say one more. That's good.
This is good. This will be the perfect. I love this because we get to wrap up this. We get to wrap up the episode with this list of these awesome things that people are going to run over and discover right now. What else?
Yeah.
Anything else on the list before we wrap
No,
up?
no, I think I've got it. Home checks, actor app, and the personal websites. You get it when you're on the pro service. Again, when you choose to go pro, you get 10 gigs of and unlimited video links in all the other like YouTube, Vimeo stuff.
Wild.
So there's a lot of that kind of stuff. But I think the thing is, I don't want this to turn into a sales pitch. Yeah. We love what we do. We want this to work. The more people that are using it, the better. We are committed to that. We're working with the biggest production companies and distributors in the world. We're really happy about that. Yeah. We feel like that is something that will really benefit the talent more. Yeah. So every turn we're looking for how do we make this, more valuable at every level. We're just getting started in the US. Really, we're not fully. We've got pretty much every agent in the entire country gets all of the breakdowns. And every day we're getting many, many more. So it's growing like leaps over bounds. And we're really happy about that. And we just want to continue offering incredible tech, incredible service. One more thing.
Yeah.
We integrated our back end. This isn't necessarily for the talent, but during the pandemic, when the whole industry imploded, we went and integrated Zoom into our back end. So that means that a casting director can hold a Zoom audition and a live audition in the room at the same time. So,
and it's all on the platform.
Oh yeah, our technology is like off the hook for casting. So basically, it's an editing suite, shooting suite that they use. This is very old. We've been doing this a long time, but what we did was we put Zoom into it. So now I could put Brian on camera and bring in somebody else from London, and you guys could read together. Wow. And that all goes into the back end and into this platform that goes right up to the distributors.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I'm taking away from this, Susan, I hope everyone listening is taking away, is if you can imagine the tech that is this advanced, which many of us have not experienced yet because you're sharing it for many people hearing it for the first time, you can only imagine the growth that this is going to experience from the distributors, the producers, the cast directors that we're seeing in the US already. So if there was ever a time to try to get here, and I just know every actor I know is like using their phone to do as much as they can. That part of this alone makes this incredibly valuable to everyone. And I know from, I've not just interacted with Susan, but other people on her team, what a conscious organization this is around making fair prices for actors and taking good care of this business and believing in a business that, sometimes I think doesn't always believe in itself. And I think that that's a really beautiful, beautiful voice for us to hear. And I'm just so grateful that you got to be with us today. I'm just so grateful.
Gosh,
thank you,
Brian. Thank you for having me on the show. Yeah. We love your show. We're such supporters. Thank you. We look forward to actually interviewing you.
I can't wait to be on. So everyone who's listening, the link is at the bottom of the show notes right now, at the top of the show notes. So you can go over and check out Casting Workbook. Don't do this. Don't listen to this podcast episode and be like, that was nice to listen to. Cool. Take action today. You owe it to yourself. It's free. Get your free site. Get your buns over there. All right. Yeah. Love you all so much. Thank you, Susan. We're so glad you were here.
Brian.
All right. Be well.
Thank you, everybody.